Welcome to my Crazyhouse chess and animation website, YouTube channel, and X account. Be warned, this is not traditional expert analysis, and it's not an expert tactical analysis either. This is simply a long-time chess player who has found new love and fun in the chess variant Crazyhouse, also in the time clock. With that being said, I will begin my very first Crazyhouse video analysis. I hope you understand and enjoy the non-traditional analysis and technical strategies that I talk about here. I will be using the old descriptive chess notation. I have an opponent here this time with a ranking less than mine, but be advised, the ranking is not that important if you play the game well. I will admit that the ranking on some occasions has affected my play. Many times I've underestimated my opponent because of a low rating, and on other occasions I played too cautious because my opponent had a higher rating. When I first started playing Crazyhouse chess, I attempted to limit myself to certain openings. I was thinking that the most important thing in a Crazyhouse game opening was to castle and get my king defended in behind pieces right away so he couldn't be that easily attacked. Now I believe and think that any opening work well as long as you play it well. A good strategy, and my best strategy, is to capture the first piece and then be the first one to put a captured piece back on the board in a strategic and tactical way. Now I want to say that unlike in traditional chess, the numerical value of the pieces is not as important as it is in traditional chess. The importance of the piece captured in Crazyhouse depends on where it can be placed and what advantage it can give. My opponent started with pawn to king foe and bishop to bishop foe. Attacking my king bishop pawn, I responded with pawn to king foe and knight to king bishop 3, attacking his king pawn and preventing his queen from moving to king rook 5 for a double attack on my king bishop pawn. My opponent then moved pawn to queen 3, protecting his king pawn, and I then moved bishop to bishop 4, directly attacking his king bishop pawn, which I will definitely capture if I can, because this will give me the first captured piece, and at the same time check his king and not allow him to castle and strongly protect his king, or properly protect his king. Well, my opponent safely moved queen to king 2 to protect the king bishop pawn, then pawn to queen bishop 3 to prevent the next possible move from me at knight to queen bishop 3, where I would be attacking his queen with knight to queen 5. I then castled, and at this point nobody had captured any pieces, so nobody could put anything on the board. So now having castled, I started looking for my first piece to capture. My opponent moved knight to king bishop 3, which would allow him to castle, and I responded knight to king knight 5, and now I'm definitely going to capture a piece somewhere. My opponent castled, and I immediately captured the bishop pawn with my knight. If the rook don't capture my knight, I think he will lose a lot more pieces. My opponent did capture my knight with his rook, and then I captured his rook with my bishop. Then, of course, he captured my bishop with his queen. Now, I have two pieces I can put back on the board, but so does my opponent. I just need to know where to put my pieces at first. I decided to develop my bishop, and I moved pawn to queen 3. Now, my opponent have the chance to put the first piece on the board first. However, I believe I have a slight advantage in position. My opponent still has a knight on his back row, and his queen is dangerous next to his king, which is not good most of the time. My opponent moved bishop to knight 5, attacking my queen, and now I get to put my first piece on the board. I place my captured pawn on the board at king bishop 3, blocking and attacking his bishop at the same time. I believe this gave me a stronger position than him. My opponent retreated his bishop to king 3, and I immediately attacked his knight with bishop to knight 5. I'm going to capture that knight if he don't move it. Well, my opponent didn't move the knight, but he moved king knight to queen 2 to protect that knight at king bishop 3. I captured that knight, and then the knight captured my bishop. Now I need to place another piece on the board before my opponent can. So I placed the captured knight on king knight 5, attacking his queen and his bishop at the same time. Look like I'm going to capture a piece now. Another piece. My opponent moved queen to king 2, and I captured that bishop. My opponent captured my knight. Now my opponent had 3 pieces protecting queen 5 square, so I chose to attack his queen by placing my captured bishop on queen bishop 5, attacking his queen. My opponent retreated his queen back to king bishop 2. Now I placed on the board what turns out to be my winning move. I placed my captured rook on queen bishop 8, check. And in the next series of moves, you'll see I'm going to force a mate. My opponent captured my rook. Then I captured his rook. My opponent also didn't make the best move, because the best move would have been to place a piece on knight 8. Because if he don't, I will have a double check for checkmate. Well, my opponent didn't make the move at knight 8, but instead he went for the split and capture of my rook and my bishop. So I checkmated my opponent with a double check, bishop to king 6, checkmate. While this is not a highly rated game between two very strong players, it's definitely the type of game that I really enjoy. We both made errors and weak moves, but I was able to execute my plan to get pieces on the board first and maintain a very good pawn structure in castle. Thank you for watching.